Good evening, everybody. I hope it's clear. Am I audible? Am I visible? So if you have any doubts, any comments, you can directly chat in the comment section. You can directly message it here. I can check your replies. Okay, yes, it's going clear. So let us directly start with the class. So the class today I am dealing with here is a basic introduction of the Indian physiography. So what do you mean by Indian physiography, right? That is, you might have heard about that. When we study India, India is not a uniform land, right? India has huge amount of irregularities, like it has mountains in the north, it has some of the islands in our Bay of Bengal and Arabian Sea. It has India. We have heard about Indian plateaus like Deccan Plateau, Chota Nagpur Plateau, Malwa Plateau. You might have heard about number of plateaus. We might have heard about Indian plains. So there are number of divisions when we can divide India in number of divisions. So today the class is for those students who don't know much what to study and how to study the Indian physiography. In this half an hour to 1 hour period, we are not going to study the Indian physiography completely. I'm not going to teach you Indian plateau holistically, Indian mountains holistically. No, I'm just going to show you what are included in these topics and what are the things you have to study within these Indian physiography topics. So yes, I'm Dinesh Kumar R, and you are watching here with me with the help of Unacademy. The class is on YouTube, and if you like my profile, you can visit Unacademy, my profile. If you like the classes, you will get more than 100 free lectures available, and the plus courses are also there. So I am a geography educator with more than 4 years of experience in teaching. Chalo. So before moving into the class, I will give you few announcement from Unacademy, that we know that we have on 27th June we have our examination, that is prelims. So only 6 months remaining. So for that, Unacademy has come up with some entire course that is required for the prelims starting from tomorrow. So these are 100% batch courses which will be catering to 100% need for your prelims examination. And please remember, they are not any crash course batches. They will cover 100% of the syllabus for the prelims 2021. Okay, the classes are conducted in different languages, like there are exclusive Hindi batches, there are exclusive English batches, and there are batches which will be in bilingual languages, and all these are 6-month batches which will completely cover the prelim syllabus. Apart from that, there are other courses or other batches they are starting from tomorrow. It is 1-year course, and those who are writing in 23, maybe college students, they will be writing in 23. For them, there is a 2-year batch again starting from tomorrow. So all these classes are available on the Unacademy Plus platform. और सभी हिंदी भाइयों बहनों के लिए, so you have your full course on Hindi also starting from tomorrow itself. You can think about them. So these are the 3 courses that is going live from tomorrow. These are entire batch courses. One more announcement, we have a type of subscription called Unacademy Iconic subscription, wherein you will get a personal mentor for your entire preparation, wherein you have answer writing practices, daily corrections, you have your, I can say, mains and test series included. So some features which are not available in the normal plus subscriptions, they would be available in this Iconic subscription. So now there is going to be a price hike on this Iconic subscription. So if anybody want to subscribe, you can take the benefit before the price rise. Last announcement before the class. So there is a combo offer now recently announced by Unacademy, that presently there is a separate fee for GS and optional, but if you are taking it together, there is the 77,000 for 1 year, it will become 70,000, and additionally if you use my referral code DineshRT10 to subscribe, you can get an additional 10% discount. Similarly with Iconic and optional, you have this is the fee, and with referral code DineshRT10 you can get an additional 10% discount. So whichever course you enroll on the Plus platform, you can use my referral code DineshRT10 in 2 ways. One, for your discount. Second, those who are using the Unacademy platform for the first time, you can use this referral code DineshRT10 to unlock all the free content. So free contents are basically locked. So to unlock them, you need a referral code, and you can use this referral code DineshRT10. So I hope things are clear. Shall I move with the topic directly now? The physiography of India. What are the topics that we have to study under this topic with respect to two examination? What is two examination? With respect to our prelims and mains. With respect to our prelims and mains, and of course definitely when our preparation for prelims and mains is complete, it is going to help us in the interview also. So for this much exam perspective, what are the things we have to study under the topic physiography of India? Now if you ask me what is physiography of India, I will add other topics also like Indian drainage and everything, but I'm not moving much into the complicated areas. I'm just restricting all these things to my land initially. I'm restricting all these things to land. That is, when I study Indian physiography, what are the things I must cover? So please try to understand. These are the four basic topics here that we have to study. They are the Indian plateaus, they are the Indian mountains, Indian plains, and the Indian islands. So these are the four broad topics that you have to cover under the physiographic divisions of the country. Now why I have written in that order? Because this is the order in which they have been developed. So before that you can study something else that is known as geological history of India. Now when I talk about geological history of India, please understand this geological history of India is the story of India, I can say, how this map has been arrived. We all know that the earth has originated somewhere around 4.6 billion years ago, right? 4.6 billion years ago. From that time, how it gradually modified and how we live in this present day physical map of India. How this Himalayas has been developed, how these plateaus have been developed, how these rivers have been developed, how these plains have been developed. Why do you have, I can say, black soil region in this part of country? Why do we have, I can say, yes, there is a huge gap between the plateaus. This is plateau and this is also plateau. Why there is a huge gap between them? Why do we have coal reserve in the country? So to answer all these things, you can start the story of Indian geography with something known as geological history of India. After understanding the topic geological history of India, I am not talking about this topic today. I am going to talk about this topic today. So when you understand geological history of India properly, you will be able to conclude that in India, the Indian plateaus are the oldest physiographic part. Then it is the Indian mountains that will be developing. Then it will be the Indian plains that will be developing. Then finally we can say the Indian islands. So this is the order in which they have been developed. That's why I have used that particular order. So today's class, let us see them in details, that how are we going to cover all these particular topics. Sure. Now the story starts with Indian plateaus. On this figure, let me show you first what is my Indian plateau, what is my Indian mountain, plains and islands. So let us start with the simple thing. Can I say islands are very simple? So what are they? Can you see this is one group of Indian islands, Andaman and Nicobar group of island, and here somewhere we have another group of island, that is our Lakshadweep group of islands. So we have to study two major categories of island in India. One is Lakshadweep group of islands, second is Andaman group of islands. Now, if I ask you about these two groups of islands, are they same? Same in the manner of their formations. Same in the manner of their formations. So I hope you guys have heard about Lakshadweep group of islands. They are largely coral islands. So we will study how coral islands are developed. You have to study them in oceanography, right? You can get my special class also on corals. So I have taken it there. So you have this they are coral islands. When I talk about Andaman Nicobar Islands, they are actually continuation of my Himalayan mountains. Not only that, apart from that, you can see some volcanic islands also, like you might have heard about Barren Island, which recently erupted. You might have heard about Narkondam Island. So these are volcanic islands which are also part of my Andaman Nicobar Island. Apart from that, on this side, if you see the atlases properly, you can see coral islands also. That means when I compare my two group of islands, the Lakshadweep group of islands is largely, I can say, coral island, while on the eastern side, this Andaman group of island, it has everything in it. It is extension of my Himalayas, it has volcanic eruptions, volcanic islands, it has coral islands. So I can say it's a complex group of islands which has almost every characteristics, right? So from there I have started. I've just shown you what is my Indian islands. Now, if I talk about Indian plains, on this figure, which area can I refer to as Indian plain? Can you see this belt where my rivers are draining? where you don't see any disturbances. Can you see there is a uniform color you can see there, and they are lightish green color, and this uniform color there is no much irregularities. What is irregularities? There is no ups and downs. Can you see they are flat lands? So these flat land areas are referred as the Indian plains. So in this figure, if I want to properly show this particular thing, can I say my Indian plain area is here in this belt? It passes like this here. Can you see all these things that I am drawing? Can you please tell me? Can I say this much area I have very less disturbances? So this much area I can say they are part of my plains. There is very less up and down or irregularities you can see here. Apart from there, can I say this coastal area just outside this mountain, this narrow belt, they are also very plain, they are also part of my plain. Similarly here also we have a very narrow belt, they are part of my coastal plains. So this much area we have to study under the topic the Indian plains. Then I am coming here, the Indian mountains, which are the area we will be giving importance to. So let me remove this part first. So when I talk about Indian mountains, we will be giving focus to this much area. This entire area will be the focus of the Indian mountains part, this much area. Fine. So please remember the Indian mountain, it continues towards this belt, and its continuation is what we have talked about Indian islands. And finally, if I talk about the Indian plateaus, what are these Indian plateaus? Rest of the area. What is that rest of the area? If I want to show you on this map, can you see this raised platform which is relatively much uneven? If I roughly want to draw it here, can you see this belt? This entire belt is my Indian plateaus. So this much area I can say is part of my Indian plateaus. So this much area, but it has some extensions here and there. What are they? It has a slight extension over here. It also has a slight extension over here. So this much area is my Indian plain, Indian plateaus. Now in this figure, if I want to classify my India into 4 basic divisions, all this reddish color, they are my Indian plateaus. All this blue color, they are my Indian mountains, and the region in between, they are my Indian plains, and finally these belts are my Indian islands. So these are the 4 classifications we have to understand. Now you can definitely ask me, where is desert? Isn't it another classification? I can say yes, I can say no, both. Why yes? Because it has definitely some specific characteristics, so we can say yes. Why no? Because can I say I can include them as a part of my plain? It is that part of the plain, can I say, which is really very dry, where precipitation is less, evaporation is higher. That is why that plain area has been converted into desert like feature. So can I say desert is because of the climatological conditions of that area, because you don't receive rainfall there? So don't worry, you can take desert as a separate physiographic feature, or you can take it within Indian plains. Anything is fine, there is no confusion there. So these are my first 4 divisions. Is that clear? I hope things are perfectly fine till now. What are these basic 4 divisions that we have to study? So we have to study Indian plateaus first, that is the oldest one. Then we have to study the Indian mountains. Then we have to study the Indian plains. Then finally Indian islands. Now let us try to understand within them what are the things we have to study. Within Indian plateaus, what are the things and how are the things we have to cover? Within mountains, what are the things and how we should cover individually? So first come first, let us understand Indian plateaus. How are we going to study the Indian plateaus? So what are the area I am talking about? Let me remove all these things here again. So please remember, I am going to address this much area. How I am going to study this much area? This much area and this much area. I am going to explain this 3 area here. So to understand them well, please understand what is a plateau. If I want to define a plateau, can I say the most basic definition of plateau that we have heard is just this one? Plateau is a tabletop area. Plateau is a tabletop area. What is tabletop area? Can I say it is a raised platform having a steep slope, having a very flat area at the top, and finally again a deep depression. It can be steep or it can be gentle. So please remember, at least one area should be steep, that is a plateau. So it should be flat topped, it is slightly a raised area, then I can definitely call it as plateau. Now if I say all this reddish portion that you can see here is Indian plateau, can I go or believe with this definition perfectly? Can you see that this entire area is a flat tabletop? Do you believe that? Can I clearly say there are huge amount of irregularities within Indian plateau? See, there are mountains. This is my Western Ghats. These are my Vindhyas and Satpuras. These are my Aravalis. So my plateau, when I talk about Indian plateau, is not a flat land perfectly. There are huge amount of variations, irregularities within Indian plateau. So that is why when we study Indian plateau, it becomes highly complex. So to understand this complex Indian plateau, what we do is we break and divide this Indian plateau into number of divisions and then we study them individually. So please remember, my Indian plateaus can be further broken and subdivided into number of small hills and number of small plateaus, right? So let us do that. So I am going to break this entire area for you. I am going to break them into individual mountains and individual plateaus. So what are they? First let us read the names, then we will come back. So when I talk about my Indian plateaus, they can be subdivided into this much divisions. What are this much divisions? So let us see them one by one. My Indian plateaus can be covered under these subheadings. First one, we can study them as Aravalis, one of the part. We'll study about Vindhyas. We'll study about Satpura mountains. We'll study about Ghats and the southern hill complex. What is Ghats and southern hill complex? I hope you guys know about. We have Western Ghat on the western side of India, somewhere here. We have Eastern Ghats on the eastern side of India, somewhere here. And we have some of the hills on the southern part of India, that is somewhere here. What are these hills? Do you know that? Can I say Nilgiri is part of them? Nilgiri, Anamalai, Cardamom. There are a number of ranges which are small parts of hills present in the southernmost tip, right? So we will be studying them as Ghats, southern hills, Ghats, that is Western Ghats, Eastern Ghats and the southern hill complex, or I can bifurcate 4 into 3 parts, right? Then we have to study about Deccan Plateau and Deccan Trap. We have to study about Kathiawar upland. We have to study about Malwa Plateau. We have to study about the Bundelkhand region, Bagelkhand region, Chota Nagpur Plateau, the most important with respect to the resources of the country, Meghalaya Plateau. So these are the ways or divisions through which I can study the Indian plateau. So I hope you are getting what did I say. I clearly mentioned that my Indian plateau is highly complex. Why complex? Based on its shape. It has huge amount of irregularities up and down. So to make it much simpler, what I will do is I will break my Indian plateaus into number of divisions, then I will try to take individual of them and then I will study them. What are these individual breaks? Those individual breaks, just I want to roughly show on this map. Don't confuse if the lines increases here, just simply try to understand them. So I'm just covering these names, okay? So this area I talked about first, this is my Aravali range. Can you see this small mountain? This is my Vindhyan mountains. This is my Satpura mountains. Do you remember the fourth point, Ghats and the southern hill complex? This is my Western Ghats. This is my Eastern Ghats. And these are my hills of the southern hill complex. These are my southern hill complex. Next, we have to study about the Deccan Plateau. So this entire region, I can say this will come under the topic Deccan Plateau. That is the entire area, this much. They come under the Deccan Plateau. Then we will study Kathiawar upland or Kathiawar Plateau. Then we study Malwa Plateau. Then we study Bundelkhand Plateau. Then we study the Bagelkhand region. Then we study the Chota Nagpur Plateau. Then we study the Meghalaya Plateau. So I will show them one by one, don't worry, I will write names for you. So these are the divisions, that is my entire single Indian plateaus. I try to divide it into number of divisions, then I will be dealing with them one by one. So I am concluding, what did I say? My Indian plateau is highly complex, highly irregular. There are number of mountains and number of plateaus within a concept Indian plateau. and I can divide them into these major divisions. So yes, what are my Indian plateaus? Again you can see this figure, these are my Indian plateaus. This entire area is my Indian plateau. Can you see there is some areas where you have already it has become plain. Why? Can I say this is the area drained by my Krishna Godavari rivers? So this area has become plain. This is the area that is drained by Mahanadi Brahmani rivers. So it has been converted to plain. Other areas, they are still having strong plateau like structures. So how to study the plateau, complex plateau? By dividing it into number of divisions. How can I divide? First division, I am talking about certain mountain parts of my plateaus, certain mountain parts. So let me show you which are the mountain parts. If you wish, you can take the figure that I am drawing. If you wish, you can take it. Otherwise, it is roughly marked here and there in our maps itself. Okay, so it is a very bad map. So let me just erase it. Okay, roughly suppose this is my India. On this map, if I want to locate some of the mountains that is my part of plateau, so what are they? So these areas will include, I will say this one is my first area, that is my Aravalli mountain. So this is my first area, 1. This is my second area, 2. This is my third area, 3. This is 2, okay. This is my next area, 4. This is my next area, that is my 5, and finally this area is my small hills here, they are my 6th area. So I have divided my Indian plateaus under 6 categories which are different types of mountainous structures. Which are they? Aravallis, let me change the color. Which are they? They are Aravallis, they are Vindhyan mountains, so this is Aravalli, they are Vindhyas, they are Satpuras. Then simple, you can make it 1 or you can make it 3. What are they? It is Ghats and Southern Hills. If I talk about this one, this is my Western Ghats. This one is my Eastern Ghats, and this belt is my Southern Hills, Southern Hill complex. So this is my mountainous parts of the plateau. I hope things are clear. If you have any doubts, you can post in between. I can read the comments. So these are the first divisions that I can talk about, the mountainous parts of the plateau. Let me mark them here if you require. So on this map, which are my mountainous part? I talked about this Aravalli, I talked about this Vindhyas, I talked about this Satpuras, I talked about this Western Ghats, this Eastern Ghats, and one more division. These small hills are the Southern Hill complexes. So I hope things are very much clear till now. So how to study these plateaus? We will study them individually. You have to understand very well about Aravalli, read about Aravalli. What are the facts? What are the importance of Aravalli? Like you will be understanding it's a very old fold mountain in the country. You get marbles in this particular Aravalli range. On the two sides of Aravalli, there are two different types of climatic situation. When I move towards west, I move into desert. When I move into east, I move into wet area. So these are some of the important points. When I study about Western Ghats, you have to study them individually, its features, what are the important passes on Western Ghats, what are the important peaks of Western Ghats, what is the shape of Western Ghats. You will understand when you study Western Ghat is very much steeper on its west and it is very much gentle towards east, right? So we have to take them individually and then we have to study them individually. Right? Don't try to learn Indian plateau as a single unit. Break them and read them individually. So that is the way you can study them. What are the divisions you have to study? That is what I am giving you. So first division done. I have just shown you some important mountainous part within the plateaus. Now let me show you some other parts. When I talk about other parts, let us talk about the plateau regions, which are the areas we have to cover. I am removing this figure. Let me just make things here itself. So give me a second. Are you all comfortable, those who are watching live? Please give me a thumbs up or comment anything if you are understanding things well. So I am removing this also, right? All these things. So here I will be marking the plateau part now. Okay. Chalo. Now let us mark the plateau parts in this area. So what are the plateau parts? First one, so what are the things we have covered till now? Let me show you the list. Can I say we have explained which area is Aravali, which area is Vindhya? Okay, it's good. Okay, thank you, Bhimappa, right? Thank you. Okay, so second is Vindhyas, next is Satpuras, next is Western Ghats, Eastern Ghats and Southern Hill Complex. This much is the thing that I have shown you. I am moving into the next portion, that is the core plateau region. So what are this core plateau region? Let us see. The core plateau region includes, this one is my first part, this one is my first part, and this entire region together is referred as my Deccan Plateau. This is my Deccan Plateau. That means when I talk about Deccan Plateau, it is bound by, here I have Western Ghats, right? It is bound by Western Ghats on the west. Here I have Eastern Ghats on the east. Above I can say Satpura Satmala mountains. So below that, this entire area is referred as my Deccan Plateau. Now apart from that, we have to cover one more thing in this area, which is sometimes referred as Deccan Trap. What is Deccan Trap? Deccan Trap is this region. So some portion of Deccan Plateau is also included here. I hope you guys have heard about black soil in India. You guys have heard about black soil in India. So black soil in India, how is that developed? It is in this region, right? We get black soil. How is that developed? It is developed by an event which is known as volcanic lava spread, or I can say a special type of volcanism known as hotspot volcanism. So our India experienced a special type of volcanic activity while it was moving from Gondwana land to our Eurasia. You all know that, right? India was the part of Gondwana. From there it broke and started to move towards northeastward direction and collided with the Eurasian landmass. So while it was moving, some of the area, that is this part, it has experienced certain type of volcanic eruptions that resulted into the black soil formation. So the area where the lava spread, this area is referred as the Deccan Trap. So please remember, whenever you study Deccan Trap and Deccan Plateau, they are not same. Deccan Plateau is my actual plateau old region, but Deccan Trap is a new modification in some of the part of plateau and some other parts. What is some of the part? Can I say this much area is overlapping? So some of the part of Deccan Plateau and Deccan Trap is common, but Deccan Trap also has some other areas. Deccan Plateau also has some other areas. Okay, so what is Deccan Trap? The area where I have the spread of lava. Chalo. So this is my Deccan Plateau region, this is my Deccan Trap region. So within Deccan Trap, I can include my other plateau regions. What are those other plateau regions? Let us see. So can you see this area? This is my Gujarat. So my Gujarat looks like this, right? Like this. So I am talking about this region. Can you see slight brownish shade here, slightly yellowish shade? So there are small plateau regions. So this region is referred as my Kathiawar upland or Kathiawar plateau. Some region here is referred as our Malwa plateau. So this is our Malwa plateau here. Somewhere here we talk about the Bundelkhand plateau. Bundelkhand plateau. Somewhere here we talk about the Bagelkhand plateau. So after my mountains, what did I study? I studied about Deccan Plateau. Then I studied about Deccan Trap. Now when I talk about Deccan Trap, it includes some portion of Deccan Plateau, it includes some portion of Kathiawar upland, it includes some portion of Malwa Plateau, or I can say majority of Malwa Plateau. Okay, if I want to edit the figure slightly, this area will come like this. This area will come like this. Okay, so what happens here? It covers some part, majority parts of Kathiawar, majority part of Malwa and some part of Bundelkhand Plateau. Then I will be studying about Bagelkhand Plateau. So this much, all these, okay, Bagelkhand, Bundelkhand, these are small plateaus. Then we are going to enter into the most important part of the plateau, that is the Chota Nagpur Plateau region, which is a huge region here. So this huge belt is my Chota Nagpur Plateau. So this belt I will study. After that you will understand there is a huge gap. Where is that gap? The gap is in this belt. Between my plateau and northeast there is a huge plain area. Can you see? This is a highland, see here, and this is a highland here. So can you see this region? Let me change the color so that you can see properly. Can I say this area? You can see the color, it is properly green color. So this area is greenish, means they have plain area. But please remember, this belt is continuation of this plateau, but there is a gap, and this gap is associated with the, I can say, downwarping of the Indian landmass. And why this downwarping happened? While Indian landmass collided for the formation of Himalaya and all, it experienced some disturbances that resulted into downwarping or just bending like this. So that resulted into depression. Leave that, we'll study these things later. Now I'm just introducing the topic to you. So please understand, my Chota Nagpur plateau, it continues to this belt with a gap here. So what is this belt which is continuation of Chota Nagpur plateau? It is referred as my Meghalaya plateau, Meghalaya plateau, or I can say Shillong plateau, or I can say northeast tableland, or I can say far east tableland. Whatever name you use, it is same, right? So what did we do? We have first divided the Indian plateaus into some mountains. Then now I have divided them into certain plateaus. What are the plateaus? Deccan Plateau, this region, Deccan Trap, the area where lava has spread, which includes some portion of Deccan Plateau, some portion of Kathiawar upland, some portion of Malwa Plateau, some portion of Bundelkhand, some portion of Bagelkhand, some portion of Bundelkhand till now. That is part of my Deccan Trap. Then we will be studying about Bundelkhand, Bagelkhand, most importantly Chota Nagpur plateau. Then the continuation is Meghalaya plateau. So this is how the individually we will study Indian plateaus. So let me know, is it very clear how are we going to cover the Indian plateaus? What are these divisions that we have to study with respect to Indian plateaus? So we have divided Indian plateaus into this much divisions. Then we will study them one by one. So this is how you will break the Indian plateaus and study. How to read them? Just read them one by one through your basic NCERT books. You already got the division. Now the division is with you, you just have to know their properties. On this figure, if I want to conclude everything together, can I say what is the color shall I use? Let me take green color, okay? Okay, chalo. Let me clear all these things. So what are the points we have to study? So we have first started with, do you remember, Aravalli mountains, then Vindhyas, then Satpuras, then Western Ghats, then Eastern Ghats, then some of the hill ranges here, that is known as Southern Hill Complex. So Aravalli, Vindhyas, Satpuras, Western Ghats, Eastern Ghats, Southern Hill Complex. What are the plateau parts? Let me remove these things again. This entire region is my Deccan Plateau. This entire region is my Deccan Plateau. Now please wait, I will explain this again. First thing, this entire part is my Deccan Plateau. This is my Kathiawar Plateau. This one is my Malwa Plateau. This one is my Bundelkhand. This one is my Bagelkhand. This region is my Chota Nagpur Plateau, and this is my Meghalaya Plateau. These are the basic divisions. Now here, what is my Deccan Trap region where I get black soil? Let me just show you this belt. So this is the belt where I get black soil region in the country. So I hope this much division is very much clear. Now I will just show you one more division. Okay, what is that one more division? That is, if I talk about the Deccan Plateau, that is this much area, can I say Deccan Plateau is very huge? So that is why we can further bifurcate it into 4 divisions. What are they? This region that is towards the north, I can call it Maharashtra Plateau. I can call it Maharashtra Plateau. This region below, I can call it Karnataka Plateau. This region, I can call it Telangana Plateau, and this region I can call it Dandakarnya or Bastar Plateau. So these are the divisions we can do with respect to Indian plateaus. So kindly let me know, are you all very clear with the breaking of the Indian plateaus, how I divided into number of divisions? Then we have, our job is now easy. We know the plateaus, we just have to take one by one and then just study their details. That is all. And again, if I want to prioritize which area should you give more importance to, definitely we will do that. Indian Aravallis, you have to understand it well. Vindhyas and Satpuras, no need to learn it separately. Together they have similar characteristics, so you can study them. In this area, I can say Western Ghat is very important. So Western Ghat is most important, you have to understand them. Deccan Plateau is very important. Kathiawar, if okay, you can leave, it's perfectly fine, no issue. Then in this belt or on this slide, I can say Malwa Plateau is very important, Chota Nagpur Plateau is very important. So these are the areas that I have ticked now. They are the most important parts of the plateaus which we have to study in details. Others, you just have to have a proper basic idea about those. So these are the things how you will cover the Indian plateaus. So I hope the basic idea what to study in Indian plateau is clear. I have clearly divided them with you and I have given you single small pieces so that you can take it and study. That is my Indian plateau. So if it is clear, I will move into the next part, that is how to cover the Indian mountains. So I have covered this, how to cover the Indian plateaus, their individual divisions. And why did I take Indian plateaus first? Because they are the first one to form, because they are the oldest part of the India. So we have covered that. Next one, we will be studying about Indian mountains. So which area am I talking about? I am going to talk about this entire belt. I am going to talk about this entire belt. Now, a small clarification in between, please don't consider this small part. Let me change the color there. Please don't include this one, this small feature as part of your Indian mountains, because it may look like they are mountainous, but please remember we have already studied they are extension of my Indian plateaus. They have nothing to do with my mountains. So this much area we will be covering under the next topic, that is the Indian mountains. So let us try to understand how we study Indian mountains, what are the things we study in Indian mountains, how to classify them, Indian mountains. Chalo. Now, first you have to understand few basic concepts of Indian mountains, how they are formed. I hope you might know plate tectonics. So with respect to plate tectonics, you have to understand how they are formed. You have to know something known as geosyncline. What is geosyncline? How geosynclinal sediments folded up to give result to Himalayan mountains. You have to understand all these basic things here. Right? That is my first topic. You have to understand how it is formed. You have to understand its relative. Can you see in this figure, when I compare the entire Indian physiography with the Himalayas, can you see the enormous height of this mountain? It is just standing as a vertical wall in this section. This figure I have included just to show the comparison of the height of this Indian mountain with respect to all other physiographic features of the country. Clear? It's a very accurate figure, I can say, very beautiful figure which can properly give you a true picture of the Indian physiography. Do you remember we have talked about some mountainous area, Western Ghats, Eastern Ghats, see this is Vindhyas, this is Satpuras, in between we have some plateaus which are again irregular, this is my Aravalis. So these figures will you a feel when you study how my actual land looks like. Then when you break and study, the clarity increases, right? So let us move further. So let us see what we have to study under Indian mountains. First thing you have to understand about their formations and all, how they are formed, plate tectonics, right? Plate tectonics, geosyncline, all these concepts you have to understand. Then you have to understand its division. What is division? You have to understand two types of division, that is how we classify and learn Himalaya. First we divide them based on its genesis. Genesis means its origin, how it was formed. And when we study Himalayas, if I want to draw it here, it looks something like this. Let me just roughly draw it here for you guys. Okay, give me a second. Okay, see, this is how my Himalayan region looks like. Which is the area I have drawn? I have drawn this region from here to here. This region I have drawn. On this figure, not this figure, I will take some other figure to show it properly. Chalo, here, let us show this. What I have drawn in the previous figure, I will just mark it here, okay, so that you can understand. I have drawn it like this. If you remember. Initially, if you remember, I have drawn three lines like this, 1, 2 and 3. Then I have taken a huge line like this. Then I have taken a broken line like this. Then I have taken another line like this. And then I have taken some lines here. So if you can relate with that, this is how it looks like. So when I study Himalayas, I will be studying them under three subdivisions first based on its origin. What are that three subdivisions? This is my first division, this is my first division, this is my second division, and finally this one is my third division. This one is my third division. So what are these divisions? The first division is known as the Trans Himalayas. See, this central part is my entire, this 2 area is my Himalayas. So what is trans? Trans means across. So the area which is on the other side of Himalayas. So this area is referred as Trans Himalayas. These 3 ranges together, they are referred as Himalayas, and these ranges in the northeastern part which moves from north to south, they are known as the Purvanchal ranges. So genetically or based on its origin, I can classify my Indian Himalayas into 3 parts. What are they? First one is Trans Himalayas, second is the Himalayas, and the third one is Purvanchal ranges. If I want to classify them further, there can be number of divisions. What are those number of divisions? Let us see slightly that divisions also, so that when you take individual topics, things will become very easy. So when I talk about the first region, that is Trans Himalayas, what are the things we have to study? I hope you guys have heard about some mountains like Karakoram range, Ladakh ranges, Zaskar ranges, or I can say you might have heard about something known as Kailash ranges in Tibet, right? I repeat, when I talk about Trans Himalayas, what are the things you have to study? You have to study about Karakoram range, Ladakh range, Zaskar range, Kailash range, etc. Karakoram, Ladakh, Zaskar and Kailash. So these are the ranges we have to study under the first division, that is Trans Himalayas. And please remember, they are present where? On the northwestern part of India only. And please remember, they are the first one to form among the Indian Himalayas. They are the oldest one among the Indian Himalayas. So first they developed, after that these Himalayas will be developing gradually. So now let me come into the second part of Himalaya. So what is my second part of Himalayas? Now please comment, are you guys very much clear? Are you guys easily following my class? If you are there, if you can type well, kindly let me know. Are you guys comfortable, properly understanding what I am talking about in all these particular things, these divisions and all? Shall I continue the same way? In between, let me have some water, right? Okay, so let me continue. Till now I did not get the response here. So yes, you can type here. Let me continue the class. I hope things are fine. Chalo. So this is my second division I am talking about. That is my Indian mountains. So what are the things that I have to study about the Indian Himalayas? That is second division. So let me see it here. Chalo, let me take a different color here. Now Indian Himalayas, the Himalayas especially, I will divide into 3 parts. What are they? The first one is known as my Great Himalayas. I hope you guys know the other name for that. It is also known as Himadri. It is also referred as the Inner Himalayas. So you have different names for this, okay. This is my Great Himalayas, first one, I will study about them. Then I will be moving with the second portion, that is the Middle Himalayas. Now Middle Himalayas, they are highly broken. Why they are broken? There are a number of reasons for that. For that you have to understand the geological history. When we talk about the formation of Indian Himalayas, okay, during this time when the Middle Himalayas was forming, this time period is known as, or epoch regarding this time period is referred as Miocene. There is a time period in I can say geological time scale. You will understand when we study these areas in details, okay. So during this time, this Middle Himalayas was forming. So this time the plate push, that is the Indian plates were pushing the Eurasian plate, right? That push was relatively much stronger and intense, or I can say very rough push. As a result of that, we had the formation of these broken shapes. Apart from that, there are a number of rivers draining from above. So those rivers are responsible for these divisions. So what are the blocks that I have to study with respect to Middle Himalayas? I have to cover them into number of divisions. What are they? Let me try to name them. So they include, I hope you guys have heard about something known as Purvanchal ranges, right? Dholadhar ranges, Masuri. Most of the UPSC aspirant here will be must familiar with this word, Masuri. Then Nag Tibba, then Mahabharat range which is in Nepal, then Darjeeling Himalayas, then towards the northeastern part of India we have two ranges called Miri Hill and Abhor Hills. I repeat, my middle Himalayas are highly broken and discontinuous. So what are its broken parts? From west to east, if I want to name most important parts of this middle Himalayas, they include Pirupanjal range. Please remember, Pirupanjal is the biggest one among them. So I can say longest one among them. So Pirupanjal range, Dholadhar mountains, Mussoorie range, Nag Tibba, Mahabharat range in Nepal, Darjeeling hills, Miri and Abhor in Arunachal. So these are my different parts of middle Himalayas that I have to study them. Then coming to the further south, so this was my middle Himalaya, which is sometimes also referred as lesser Himalaya, okay, sometimes also referred as lesser Himalayas, also referred as Himachal, also referred as Himachal. Coming to the last part, my third level of the main Himalayan the Himalayan mountains is referred as the Shivalik ranges. The Shivalik ranges. Now, Shivalik ranges are more or less continuous, but please remember there also is a huge gap in between somewhere near the eastern part of India. You can see here there is a gap, and in this gap, if you check here, check your atlas, something is written as Dwar. What is the meaning of Dwar? Gateway, right? So as there is a gap, you can directly enter into the Himalayas. So that's why it is also referred as gateway to the Himalayas. It is Dwar region, where just south of Darjeeling, where the Shivalik range is missing. And please remember, after this missing, it again re-emerges in the northeastern part, and this portion is referred as Dafla range. Dafla. So please remember, Dafla range is believed to be the continuation of the Shivalik range in the northeastern part. So what did we study? The second division, that is the Himalayas, I have classified into three divisions. They are the Great Himalayas or Himadris or Inner Himalayas, Middle Himalayas, which is divided into number of divisions like Pirupanjal, Dholadhar, Mussoorie, Nag Tibba, Mahabharat, Darjeeling, Miri and Abhor, then the Shivalik range, and then the Shivalik is continuing in the northeast as Dafla range, and we have a gap in between below Darjeeling, that is the Dwar region. When you study this area carefully, you will see it is the Teesta river which is coming through this particular belt, which is the fastest flowing river in the country. So this is how I will be individually studying this part of the Himalaya. And finally, I will be moving into this section that is known as Purvanchal. And please remember, Purvanchal ranges are the lowest part of my Himalayas. They are not much higher, and their elevation is from north to south, and they are also broken into number of small divisions. What are these small divisions? Let us know about them also. When you see the atlas, you will see there is something known as Mishmi range, there is something known as Patkaibam, there is something known as Naga hills, there is something known as Mizo hills. So these are some of the parts of my Purvanchal ranges from north to south. So this is how you will be studying the Himalayan mountains, entire Himalayas from its north to south, or I can say basically it is my classification based on its origin. So this is my actual proper technical classification of Himalaya, that is three parts: Trans Himalayas, Himalayas and Purvanchal. So that is how we individually cover them under three parts. I hope this genetic classification or the classification based on its origin is clear. If this is clear, let me move into the next portion. What else I have to study about Himalaya? So next is, I also can study Himalayas from its east to west divisions, or I can say simply regional Himalayas, or I can say regional divisions. What is this east to west divisions? Now, if you have seen the map of Himalayas, right? So can I say this is my Himalayas? Can I say I can divide Himalayas into two parts? This is my western part of Himalaya and this is my eastern part of Himalaya. My Nepal Himalayas are part of my eastern part. My Trans Himalayas, other part of Himalayas, Uttarakhand and all, they will come into this part. I hope you will, when you see the atlas, you can see a river coming from here. That river is known as Kali river. It is presently in news because of India-Nepal disputes and all, okay. You have a Kali river draining from this area. So west of Kali, we will be considering it as Western Himalayas. East of Kali we will be considering it as Eastern Himalayas, and we will try to compare what are the difference between Eastern Himalayas and Western Himalayas. We have to understand them. Then this is my two divisions. Again I can further divide my Himalayas into different regions. What can be these regions? Let me show you. Can I say I can study especially Jammu and Kashmir Himalaya separately? What are the properties of this area? You might have heard about Dal Lake, some important brackish water lakes in this area like Pangong So, Siachen Glacier is present in this area, right? Some basic important things will be assembling about that particular region. So this is Jammu and Kashmir Himalaya. This region I have my Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand Himalaya. Then I have my Nepal Himalaya. Then I have my Sikkim Himalaya. Then I have my Bhutan Himalaya. I have my Arunachal Assam Himalaya. I have my northeastern part of Purvanchal Himalaya. So this is how I can divide my Himalayas into number of divisions, right? So this is not a technical division. This is just I am breaking number of other regions and I will be trying to compare. For example, if I consider this part of Himalaya with this part of Himalaya, you will understand the Himalayas are much broader in the west, but they are much narrower in the east. That is, on the western side, if you measure this width of Himalayas, it roughly is around 400 kilometers. But by the time we reach the eastern part, the width reduces to only around 50 kilometers. We can compare height of this area versus this area. We can compare vegetation of this area versus this area. We can compare the amount of rainfall we get in this area versus this area. So that is how we study them individually, right? So this is known as my regional classification or simply east to west classification of the Indian Himalayas. So when I talk about the Indian mountains, how do we study? I can study them under two basic classifications. What are they? I can go for their genetic classification, which is based on their origin. I can divide them into three, that is Trans Himalayas, the Himalayas and the Purvanchal. Then I can divide east-west division, I can make it into two types, either divide it into just exactly two different parts. What is my Eastern Himalayas? What is my Western Himalaya? Or I can also mention it as regional Himalayas. That is, we have just broken it into number of divisions like this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you can make it like that also and then study them individually. So this is how we can study the Indian Himalayas. So what am I doing here is I am just giving you individual topics how to study. We have initially dealt with the plateaus. What are the topics we have to cover? How to break it. Now I just gave you the idea of Indian mountains, what to study, how to break it. So if these breaks are there with you, you just have to study. Now when you study, you have to focus upon that. What are the properties of my Trans Himalayas? What are the facts I have to remember with Trans Himalayas? What are the properties of my entire Himalayas? Or what are the properties of my Great Himalayas versus Middle Himalayas versus Shivalik? What are the important facts I have to remember? For example, if I give you an example, okay, my Great Himalayas are very much famous for some of the permanent glaciers. Like you might have heard about Gangotri, Milam, Pindari, like that. They are permanent glaciers on the Great Himalaya. If I talk about the Middle Himalayas, they are very much important for their tourism destinations like Mussoorie, Darjeeling, Shimla, Nainital, like that. If I talk about my Shivalik ranges, they are very much famous for, I can say, dune formations. Dehradun, Kotli Dune, Pathankot Dune. They are fluvial in their formations, like that. So individual portions of Himalayas, they have their individual properties. You have to remember individual facts. So I've just given you the divisions. Sometime later we'll be studying them individually also. So this is how you have to study. When I talk about the Purvanchal ranges, they are lower in height. They are the areas which received heavy rainfall. That is why you have dense forest in that area. So these are the things you have to study about this part of Himalayas, right? So this is how we classify the Indian plateaus and mountains. I hope the things till now, the classification and what to study in Indian plateau, classification and what to study in Indian mountains, this much topic is very much clear. Now this Indian plains and islands we will discuss in some other day. Today we will restrict it to this one and we will revise it once again before we wind up. So before that, let me again give you a small information. Those who are watching my lecture on the YouTube here, those who are not much familiar with the Unacademy, so please remember Unacademy has two types of courses. One is paid course, another is free course. Now what are these free course? Free courses are available on the Unacademy platform with the name free special class or free live classes. There are free test series you can attend, and there are free live quizzes that is going on and you can attend them. And to use these free classes, you will require an unlock code. And what is the unlock code you can use everywhere? You can use Dinesh RT10, so that you can get this logged content should be unlocked and you can watch them freely. And when you enter my profile on Unacademy, it is already there in this slide, I will show you, and therein you can get more than 100 lectures which are present in the free platform, that is special classes. And also definitely there are huge courses like complete course on Indian geography, courses like complete course on physical geography of the world, that is there present on my Plus platform also. So to subscribe to your Unacademy Plus courses also, you can use this as a referral code to avail 10% discounts. So these are the free things available by provided by Unacademy. This is T20 Daily Current Affairs. Unacademy at 7:30 p.m. is daily conducting free 20 test question discussion and its solutions. They are doing it as a test series. It's daily and it's free. You can avail it for free. And yes, the lecture you are watching on YouTube now, known as Unacademy Articulate, and Telegram channel is there, wherein you will get free updates on PDF notes and all. All these are freely provided by Unacademy, so you can follow. And this special class on Unacademy, this one will give you the experience of how we conduct class on the Plus platform. Only difference is it will be a 1 hour class. On Plus classes, we take longer durations, we give breaks in between, we discuss question papers in between, we take we have extensive doubt clearance session in between. Those are the extra things we have on the special classes. Okay, so this is the basic announcement with respect to Plus courses. So I would like to conclude the things. So what we are studying is how to prepare Indian physiography, that is Indian physical features. It is divided into 4 parts, and we have discussed these two, Indian plateaus and Indian mountains. So you have to just understand first thing, what are the general properties of the Indian plateaus, then what are the general properties of Indian mountains, how are they developed, then we will break them individually and study them one by one. What are those breaks? Do you remember the Indian plateaus, the breaks? I will just name things in this figure. I won't show you the list now because you have already have seen the list. This is the list, okay, but I will be showing things here. So what are they? This is my first part, Aravali. This is my second part, Vindhyas. This is my third part, Satpura. This is my fourth part, Western Ghat. This is my next part, Eastern Ghat. This is my next part, the Southern Hill Complex. All these are mountainous parts of my Indian plateaus. What else I have to cover in Indian plateaus? I will study about the Deccan Plateau. I will study about the Kathiawar upland. I will study about the Malwa Plateau, Bundelkhand Plateau, Bagelkhand Plateau, Chota Nagpur Plateau, and the Meghalaya Plateau. This is how I can divide and study my entire Indian plateau. Similarly, when I talk about the Indian mountains, what are the things I will be studying? I will be studying or classifying this Indian mountains into number of divisions. First division is based on origin. Do you remember? Trans Himalayas, then Great Himalayas, Middle Himalayas, and Shivalik. Then we will study Purvanchal. This is my genetic classification based on their origin. Or what else can I do? I can study them based on different regions. What are they? I can divide my entire Himalayas into 2 parts. This part is my Western Himalaya and this part is my Eastern Himalaya. Or else what can I do? I can break them into small divisions or regions and study. Like, what is the property of my Jammu and Kashmir Himalaya, Uttarakhand Himachal Himalaya, Nepal Himalaya, Sikkim Himalaya, Bhutan Himalaya, Arunachal Assam Himalaya, and the northeastern part of Himalaya. So this is how I can break this entire Indian physiography, that is mountains and plateaus, and I can study them individually. So I hope you are comfortably following these things, you are comfortable. In the next class we will be studying about how we study about Indian plains, how we divide Indian plains, how we study about Indian islands. So these are the things we will be understanding in the next class, right? So before winding, there is a reminder, Unacademy iconic courses, there is going to be a price hike. So if anybody of you are interested, you can subscribe it before the increase in the price. Then for all the subscriptions, may it be for Plus or may it be for Iconic subscription, you can use my referral code DineshRT10 to avail a discount of 10%. You can see for 1 year, if I want to show you, the fees is 49,500 generally, but once you apply the referral code 10%, after 10% discounts, it becomes 44,550. So you can just use this referral code in this particular column just while subscribing. That is what you can do. And yes, there is a combo offer recently again announced by Unacademy that at present there is special fee for Plus and optional, but if you are subscribing them together, there is a discount of more than 7,000 rupees directly. Apart from that, for 1 year, okay, 7,000 rupees. Apart from that, with this, if you apply my referral code DineshRT10, you will get an additional 10% off. So it's a big offer, I can say, I can think. So those who are preparing and those who want to attend the coaching, I will advise you to join this before these offers get lapsed. So that is all from my part. I hope you guys are much comfortably understanding all the things. So see you with some more interesting content. Yes, 2 important topics we are left to discuss, and we will discuss this in the next class. So thank you. We'll stop it here. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you. Take care and stay safe. Bye. Good night.